This is Scott Richmond.
And Arnie Sherman.
You're listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM. Arnie Sherman, good Sunday morning.
Scott, how the hell are you? You've been running around like a maniac, and I know on one of our future shows we'll divulge to our listeners what you've been going back and forth to New York about in such a frenzied pace.
Yes.
I'm excited to talk about that, but we'll have
do
to
our
wait.
next show on that.
We'll do our next show on why Scott has been living in New York practically for the last months.
The boss listens to the show. He's going to think I'm not.
No, but you've been on.
Running is the key,
right? But you've been doing it on the weekends when I want to come and chat with you. You haven't been gone. You haven't been around on the weekends.
No, we have golf season soon. So
we got golf season.
I'm not going anywhere.
No, and what I realized today was, complaining about the weather. We have a long March, right? February and March are long months, and you look outside, and we've had snow on the ground for like 115 days straight in Missoula. But one of the good things about social media is you get these little flashbacks, right? They show you what it looked like last year on that date,
right,
and a year before on that date. And this morning, I got a flashback from 4 years ago. On this date, there was the excavator at my house getting my car out of the driveway because we had a huge dump of snow that was like 2 feet of snow,
right?
And the car couldn't get the car out, even with a regular snowplow. We had to bring in a big excavator to get it unclogged and moved out. So while we think the weather's getting worse or different, when you see these flashbacks, it looks like in March there's snow on the ground every year.
You're right.
But you mentioned the most important thing is we're hoping, to get the ground to the point where we can play some golf. I was talking to our golf pro,
right?
Andrew, who said April. Not going to be playing in March there.
No way.
Because of the permafrost, the wetness,
right.
So we got to suck it up for almost another 3-4 weeks before we can start playing again.
Totally.
And I've been going through some training exercises.
Yeah,
I've had a trainer,
right?
And I'm getting more mobility and flexibility, and I'm opening, as she says, I'm opening up my hips so that I'll be able to get a little bit more torque on the shots, and I'm going to be ready for golf season this year to challenge you guys.
Well, let's see. Well, first of all, let's determine what type of shape you're in with our next guest who's coming in today.
Yeah. Runner. I haven't run. I ran a half marathon from 1987 to 1989. I think if you collectively running for a bus or a subway.
I've had the runs, but right.
Yeah, I have. I've not run, but Trisha was coming to see us from Run Wild Missoula.
Yes,
will talk to us about all the runners. I think she has 1,600 members who of Run Wild Missoula that are part of the cadre of people that are committed to all of the great outdoor running exercises.
Trisha's a dynamo. Remember her background. She was a professional runner.
Right.
But she's now, this may be her 4th year or 3rd year running the marathon. And
it's even more than one marathon. People are coming to town.
Races, right.
There was a race just recently. I was sitting at Finn's at their early bird having some oysters, and there were a whole bunch of people there that are talking about coming in a week back to Missoula from Spokane to run in the half marathon and the marathon races, which I think is the one that is on March 11th.
Right. Oh, Run for the Luck of It, which this will air after that, but still.
Yeah. But I'm saying there were people that we're becoming a running destination venue.
I think that's a great, and you bring up a great point. Missoula, since the last time we spoke with Trisha, I don't know how long ago that was, but Missoula is even more popular than it was then. It's a destination for a lot of people. Running is clearly a reason for people to come here because they could run our marathon, but also do everything else here, train here.
I was overhearing the conversation that these runners were having.
What were they saying?
Well, they were coming to town that particular night to go to a concert at the Adams Center.
Wow.
Then they were going and touring. They were beer lovers, so they were touring all of our microbreweries,
right,
which we have a plethora of in Missoula.
Right.
And then they were talking about coming back in another week to participate in the run. That's a conversation that 10, 12 years ago would never have happened.
Ever.
They might have come in for a big concert, like the Rolling Stones or something. But we have so many events that are going on. I mean, almost every single weekend from here on out to the end of the summer, there's some fairly well-known group in town or some, hot group that's coming here. And, Bonnie Raitt just won Album of the Year, and she'll be here in August.
How great is that?
I mean, it's all the stuff going on. So Missoula really has become this destination venue in this region.
No.
To the point where it makes me smile that people are coming from Spokane and Boise and places like that to come to here for a getaway weekend.
Well, we will be joined in a moment by our guest, Trisha Drobeck. She is the executive director of Run Wild Missoula, a fellow Missoulian. I don't think she's from Missoula, Montana, though.
I'm going to ask her why she doesn't call it Walk Slowly Wild Missoula, which fits into my category a lot.
Trot.
Trot Missoula. Even trotting is a little you start getting exercise.
She's a great guest, though. Let's see if we can wind her up, too, because she's got a lot going on. And Arnie and Scott know how to wind our guests up, so we'll do that after these words. Arnie, Trisha's here, and Trisha Drobeck, the executive director of Run Wild Missoula. You guys are talking about the ground thawing.
Yeah, thank God it's starting. It smells bad, but it's at least good.
What does it smell like, Trisha?
Something is definitely decomposing.
Yeah.
I'm not certain what exactly
Missoula is decomposing right in front of our eyes.
It's not fresh.
No. Well, really, it set a record, I think. This winter set a record for consecutive days with snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So...
How have you been during the winter? How's your life been?
Personally?
Yes, personally and professionally.
Well, personally, I took up skate skiing, which is a new sport for me.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very humbling picking up a sport as an adult and trying to learn. But it's been fun, and my daughter has been learning to cross-country ski as well. So that's been great. Trying to embrace winter rather than reject it.
Good idea.
I feel like as a runner, sometimes it's like, and you reject winter, right? And you hit the treadmill or something. So professionally, it's been great. We have a couple new staffers for us. So we've been onboarding a little bit over the last few months and just getting ready for the season. It's we have a nice little break between Thanksgiving, and then we have our resolution run in partnership with Runner's Edge on New Year's Day, and that just kind of gets everything going.
That's great.
I embrace winter by running to the airport and getting the hell out of here. But for our listeners who aren't familiar with Run Wild Missoula, why don't you just bring us up to date? Tell us a little about it.
Absolutely. So Run Wild Missoula we just crested over 1,700 members, which is pretty awesome. We're excited about that. Our mission is to support and encourage running, walking of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds. And we do that in numerous different ways.
Arnie, it's you.
That's you, Arnie.
I ran once. I didn't like the experience.
We have training classes. We have social events. We have about a race every month. We, of course, are the race organizers of the Missoula Marathon. We have panel discussions. We have all sorts of events that just encourages people to get out and start moving. You don't have to run, actually. It's a big secret. Run Wild Missoula. You don't have to run. It's our new tagline. You can walk. You can run walk. You can prancercise. You can do whatever you need to do.
Skate?
You could. We don't
Ski
allow
skate.
roller skating, per se. But, yeah, we just want to get people moving and do it in a fun, social way. And we offer a lot of good member benefits and incentives to encourage you throughout the year.
The hallmark event, though, that everybody knows about is the Missoula Marathon. How big has that gotten?
I would say, it's humble beginnings in hundreds of participants, and now we're into the thousands, right? I anticipate this year we have about 6,000 participants between all of our events. Yeah, and we don't even really count the participants of the free Friday night beer run because you don't have to register. You just show up and run. So it really has become a signature event here in Missoula. The streets are filled with runners, and downtown is flooded with tourists, and it's really just a iconic weekend.
How far and wide do people come to race in the Missoula
How many
Marathon?
states and countries?
Yeah, I actually just looked at the countries just today, and I think we're at 8 different countries.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and we typically get at least one runner from every state, and quite a handful from, Canada and such.
Sure.
And then, of course, I'd say about 50% of our participants come from Montana as well. So a lot of local, too.
So of this, you've crested at 1,700 now. We're over 1,700 members. What does a member get?
Oh, man.
If I join and, give you, what do I get?
That's so great. So our membership is, if you can believe it, it's $27 a year. For that, you get all sorts of stuff. You get race discounts. So if you want to do one of our races, it's $3 off, or you get $5 off one of the marathon events. We have a beer run the last Wednesday of every month, and Run Wild Missoula will buy you a beer after you go out and run with your friends, or a kombucha or whatever type of drink you need. All the breweries have the fancy drinks now. We have incentives for if you run 1,200 miles throughout the year, 2,000 miles. If you do 7 of our 12 races, you get a goodie, or if you do, I believe it's 12 of our races, you get a free entry into the marathon or half marathon as well. Other than that, we have weekly runs that you can join of all different speeds. We have our Back of the Pack that does a social once a month as well, which is a fun potluck. Honestly, it seems like we send out an email every other day with something new going on. We have a film festival in November, and 406 Day running, Global Running Day, all sorts of just fun stuff.
So is there an internal competition among your members about who runs the most miles in a year? Is there somebody that gets an award for being like, I ran 15,000 miles, ran more than my car went.
Right.
Yeah.
1,000 miles.
We do list it. You don't get like a trophy or something for being the most. But I would say that there's a little bit of bragging rights of who does the most. We do post that on our website, and you can see.
So you were a professional runner.
No,
you were never a professional runner?
Maybe an elite runner. I never did it as like a job.
Okay.
But I was able to compete,
Competitive.
You were
yeah,
competitive.
I was competitive.
Runner.
Yeah, that's a much better word.
When did you start running?
I started running after college, mainly because my friend asked me, hey, you want to run a marathon? And I said, sure. What's a marathon? I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I had played soccer all through high school and a little bit in college, and I was athletic, but I never I always needed something to chase.
Right.
I think a lot of people say that, right? You need motivation to run. It was good to just get out there and.
And once you started, you kept it up, right?
I did, yeah. I had good success right off the bat, and I think I knew I was talented. Maybe didn't really know how talented. I think a lot of people, when you run, it hurts when you start a little bit and you don't really understand how to push yourself.
Right.
But you also become like a very economical runner, right? You become better at it as the more you practice, the more you do.
Did you ever have a coach or anybody work with you on that?
I did, yeah. I started working with a coach probably. Oh man, I don't even remember. Maybe in my early 30s, I want to say I started working with a coach. And that helped take me to another level as well, and just hold myself accountable.
What did the coach do? Like, what was the importance of the coach?
Just to write workouts and make sure I wasn't doing too much or doing too little, and just to structure things. As you can imagine, you can't run as hard as you can every single day. That's just a recipe for injury and disaster, really.
Sure.
So you have to have easy days, you have to have speed days, you have to have, maybe a rest day, and you have to have races in there. Mainly just somebody to keep you healthy and get you to the starting line. I'd say that's probably the hardest part about being a competitive runner, is getting to the starting line healthy.
That makes sense.
You know what Trisha's pointing out? I just started with a trainer.
Oh, good.
And I find that it's very helpful. Because I always thought my whole life, you can just go in the gym. I can watch videos. I know, I used to lift weights in school, and so I know how to do this stuff. And you go in there and you do a bunch of stuff, and you just get sore, and it doesn't have any of the impact that you want to have. Your technique. Yeah, well, your technique and what you're supposed to do for different muscle groups. And within, I've only had a few sessions, but right away I could tell the immense impact that somebody who knows what they're doing, advising you in person, in real time, makes it a whole different kind of experience, and one that you actually end up looking forward to.
Yeah, and I think it takes the stress out of having to think of, am I doing this right? Am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? You can kind of let all that go and have, your Jesus take the wheel moment and let somebody else do the thinking for you.
Well, you also have somebody who pushes you. There are times when you go into the gym, I'm a little sore today. they got a TV going. That there's a golf tournament. You say, "I'll go on the treadmill." That'll
You'll
be
get
easy.
a smoothie.
You're right. Yeah. I might as well have a pizza while I'm walking on the treadmill watching
We
golf.
know somebody that goes to the gym and they don't seem to lose weight, but they do, spend a lot of time at the gym. So it's interesting is running really hammers your body, right? It could be really tough on your body. So having a coach seems to make a ton of sense because you are more injury prone. There's a lot of impact to your joints, right, with running, especially if your technique is not up to snuff. So I am curious, have you ever had sustained injury, over in the years that you've been running, and what was that like?
I would say overall I was a pretty durable athlete and a durable runner. I think just because I was so active as youth and I started so late in life that and I just never really went crazy with training or anything, that I was able to remain fairly injury free. I had a few, moments. I did tear my Achilles in the insertion area, not once, but twice.
Yeah.
And I mean, the second time was a direct result of coming back too fast. And that was probably my biggest injury, of all. But, yeah, I think, and that's why I encourage anybody to get a training plan, whether it's from the internet or a coach or come work with us at Run Wild or, whoever, have that plan because what people think they need to do to train for something like a marathon or a half marathon, they're going to do it wrong. And they don't understand necessarily what it all means and why they're doing 1 mile this day and 5 miles this day. And why aren't they just running 3 miles every day? And why don't I just run at the speed I want to race at? And there really are these techniques and schools of thought that to keep you injury free and to help you train for your best marathon and to get to the start line and then get to the finish line.
Well, I would advise our listeners, if they want to do that, to get in contact with Run Wild because the internet is not necessarily discriminatory in terms of what they tell you to do. It's just like looking at the internet for about diets.
Yeah. Or
like, my side hurts. Go look at WebMD and then 400 other. But what I've noticed since I've been doing this training with
the trainer.
We have the trainer, as I'm blocking on her name for a second, Morgan. With Morgan, is that I went online to look at things, and all of a sudden I'm getting all of these ads that say, if you only do one thing to strengthen your back, and I've gotten about 15 of those, and the exercises that they're telling you to do are all different.
Right.
So how do you discern between what you're hearing on the internet? They have these Asian, approaches to it. They have, U.S. approaches. They have muscle related. They have, if you don't want to jump off the ground, you don't ever have to move off the ground and do other. It's just very confusing, and it's not customized to your specific circumstance. So being in touch with you rather than just looking on the internet seems like a much wiser approach.
How many employees are there?
It's myself, 2 full-time employees, and a part-time employee.
Got it. And is John still involved, who's an older gentleman? When I first moved here, he was talking about the Tai Chi of running.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking about,
yes,
right?
Yes, I do, yes.
Is he still with the organization?
No, he was a volunteer, and I think he's doing his own thing now.
Yeah, he worked up at Anders' place. Mm-hmm. So question for you, because I'm listening to how fast not how fast, but how big the organization is. We have so many different events happening in Missoula. More people are moving to Missoula. 2-part question. Part 1, are people coming here because this is a great runners community? Because if you were to go up the I-90 corridor, not everybody's Missoula. Not everybody has a community like this. They may in Bozeman, but you don't know. Not like this.
No.
Definitely not like this in Billings, right? They have a marathon in Billings, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Go take a look.
Is it like this? I mean, we're like...
It's the biggest race for sure in Missoula.
In Montana.
In Montana, yeah.
Right.
The Rut Mountain Runs, I think, has a couple thousand runners as well.
But Run Wild Missoula, the organization.
Oh, the organization. Yeah. Yeah. We're very unique. We're unique across the country.
The country?
To have this size of a running club with this size of a town.
Well, you can tell.
Arnie.
You can tell.
It's breaking news.
Breaking news, yes. But you can also tell by the size of the Missoula Bone and Joint campus. I mean, you can tell by one of the unintended consequences of all of this. People get, stretch
Injury.
something, they hurt something, they fall on ice because they're fanatical about running and they don't care about running in the winter and they don't pay that much attention to what's on the ground in front of them necessarily. And, we have several campuses like that in this town for people that would have sports-related injuries, and a lot of that has to do with, running, whether it's running just for the sake of running or running in connection with soccer or a million, cross-country, skiing
It's like Portland.
or whatever.
This is why people call us the mini Portland, right?
Yeah, for better or worse.
For better or
right?
for worse. Second question, two-part question. I'm trying to do in my head what events there are in Missoula that attract this many people, other than Grizz football and concerts and maybe the fair. What am I missing? I mean, the marathon really. Because how many people come with each race?
Well, we have about 6,000 participants. Some participate in 2 events.
We usually bring a spouse or a partner, right?
And often, family in tow, because the unique thing about Missoula Marathon is it's after school gets out. It's kind of right when summer vacation is starting at the end of June, and everybody wants to do their road trip, or they want to head up to Glacier, or they want to have their Yellowstone dreams, or they want to, pretend a river runs through it, or whatever, rafting.
Right.
There's so many things to do. And as everybody that lives here has seen, the crazy madness that has become Missoula summers and tourism in Missoula. The marathon is always, contributed to that, but I think it's even and more some, because now they can knock out a race and have some fun, or whatever, and then go on their family vacation after that. Or
Has anybody ever asked you to move the marathon to the shoulder season when they don't get people?
They have not asked to move it.
Is it something you've ever considered? This could be breaking news.
This could be breaking news. That would be interesting. It's hard because there's so many marathons already in those shoulder seasons, because if you imagine Boston and London are in the spring, and then you've got New York and Chicago in the fall, and there's a bunch of even smaller races during those times. Those are more popular times for races, spring and fall. So it behooves us to be in the summer. There's less competition for us.
That makes sense.
Well, the interesting thing about Montana is when you talk to somebody who's not from here, they think about Montana as more of a winter place because of the skiing.
Right.
But when I was up in Whitefish recently, I was talking to one of the city officials who said they get more tourists in the summer than they do in the winter.
In Whitefish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
People doing zip lining, they're doing mountain biking, they're doing fly fishing, they're playing golf.
It's a shorter season.
Right.
But it's a more desirable season.
But the outdoor adventure here is all year round now.
I would bet you that
seasonal.
I would bet that Gallatin and wherever Big Sky is, but wherever that is, that's equal, right? That's everybody's coming just to go to Big Sky to ski. But it's the only place in the state that's that well attended.
But people still go there to play golf. There's 4 or 5, Big Sky is 4
it's
or 5.
all seasons.
It's all seasons now. They go mountain biking, they go hiking, they stop there for a few days and go to Yellowstone. Same thing here. People that come to visit me that have never been to Montana.
Right.
We're just one of the stops, and they're going to be going up to Glacier Park, or they're going to go to Yellowstone, or they're going to go to Whitefish. They got some resort they're going to go to. They may go over to Coeur d'Alene. I mean, it's now a part of the fabric of this outdoor experience, and it's a 12-month-a-year experience.
100%. Trisha, what are some of the challenges with running, like, let's say, a marathon in June? Right, because that's when it is. It's traditionally in June, like the third week of June. Is it rooms? Is it hotel rooms? Is it?
Yeah, we're doing better now that we have a couple of new downtown hotels, and there's a few more out on North Reserve now. So plus, VRBOs and Airbnbs are so much more popular than they were, say, 5 or 6 years ago.
Totally.
And I think a lot of people are doing that here as well, more availability. I would say biggest challenges are, one, it's expensive to get to Missoula. I think we were talking about hotels.
Air travel.
Are expensive. Air travel is extremely expensive right now. And then, this isn't like a terrible problem yet, but It is sometimes hard for us to get enough volunteers to put on the race. We have about 800 plus volunteer spots. That's usually filled by around 600 volunteers. A lot of people do 1 or 2 positions, sometimes more. And the people that live here are already off on their summer vacation, right?
Right.
So that can be tough. But other than that, I think we can grow. I think we can grow our participation right here. It would be my goal for, everybody who's willing and able to run, even the half marathon or the 5K, and make that their annual, race with their kids or their friends or whatever it is. And really make it, it's great when people travel here, but I also want this to be a race for Missoulians. And even if they decide not to participate in one of the events, that they are a volunteer or their organization or company has an aid station or, they're handing out medals or water or, picking up trash or whatever, we have a bazillion jobs you can do.
That's true.
So I just really want it to be the tradition, right? And this kind of exceptional tradition that people look forward to.
Sure.
Right.
That makes sense.
One of the things I want to point out is, and we you're feeling it here. You're talking about the expense of getting here or traveling. But that's happening everywhere, except the major markets where there's lots of competition and there's low-priced airlines and people have to kind of price to compete with them. I just was talking to my friend in Washington, D.C., who's complaining about flying to Europe. He can't get a flight. The flights he can get are twice as what they were last year.
Right.
It's happening everywhere. The cost of aviation fuel, the cost of employees. They have to give all the pilots raises, and they deserve it. You don't want disgruntled pilots.
And they have to stop running into each other. These
right,
days.
yeah, right. I mean, so getting here, whether it's by air or driving, it's not that different than anywhere else. And we have to, we have to be cognizant of that because it's important to recognize that we're not disproportionately out of whack with other places. I just saw somebody who was cheering because they were able to get gas for only $3.75 a gallon, and we're paying $3.25 here.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
It's just really hard when we're a nonprofit and we're like, hey, we've got this awesome race that you can do for less than $100, but you have to pay $1,300 to get here. You know what I'm saying?
Right, sure.
So that's kind of our internal struggle is that we want to be affordable and we want people to come and participate. But yeah, that's definitely like a thorn in the side of it.
Do you travel at all around the country during the off season, or there is no off season for you, but to see how other marathons are organized and, different technologies that they may be bringing in?
Yeah. So I go to a conference every year called Running USA, and it was in Denver this year, which was nice. Nice and close. And It was back in February, and I went, and they have tons of every year there's new technology that's presented. New York Roadrunners is always there. Chicago Marathon's always there. And they kind of present and talk either logistics or I think I went to a seminar on youth programs. And, nice. there's just a lot of information to be had there. And so I do get to see what other people are doing and steal their good ideas and bring them back here.
It's good. Have you ever modified or changed the course they currently are running?
So last year we did have to change it because they were putting a new water main on Beckwith. So we moved it over to Franklin, which we're going to keep it on Franklin. It was great to go down Franklin and
Beckwith is busy, isn't it?
It is busy. It's nice to have a stoplight because people are going to naturally slow down. But Beckwith is now the fire lane, so we don't want to run in the fire lane. And so since we've moved over to Franklin, we're going to keep it there. And actually, it works great to have an aid station right there at Rose Park or Franklin Park. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be nice.
I like
We're
that.
to make it like putt-putt with obstacles. You got to run through the windmill, and climb over the waterfall and all that sort of stuff.
We did. We used to do stuff like that.
Right.
We used to have inflatables people had to run over. But this is, this is serious runners. How many runners are physically challenged, like that are either in a wheelchair or some other support mechanism?
Yeah, so we have a wheelchair division and a hand cycle division.
Hand cycle, okay.
Yeah, so I think last year we had 5 hand cyclists registered. 2 were able to compete. The other 3 couldn't for whatever reason. And then we do have, I think we had 1 marathon wheeler, which is a gentleman. I believe he's done it every year, or at least the last 5 times we've had it or something. He comes over from Coeur d'Alene, I believe, and he competes. And this year so far registered, we have 2 hand cycles in the marathon and 2 wheelers. And then something cool we're also doing this year is it's a group called Ainsley's Angels. And Ainsley was a little girl. She was, she had a disability and couldn't walk. I believe like her dad built her this kind of chariot looking stroller wheelchair thing, bright pink. And in her honor and in her memory, this group comes out, and then they can take local people who don't have the ability to do the race, and they sit in the chair and they can experience it for themselves.
Cool.
Yeah, we're excited to have that group out here this year doing both the half and the marathon.
So if Scott builds a little Shea Lounge for me, and I can find 4 people to carry it, can I participate just by
You
sitting in
can,
it?
clearly.
Yeah.
You
I have
may.
a new category.
He's on a tear now, so he may want to do the marathon. Even if you do the 5K.
They have like a 0.5K.
No, Arnie, 5K is what, 3 miles?
3 miles, 3.1.
3.1 miles. I'll do it with you.
All right, if you'll do it with me, I'll.
He and I golf
can be
together.
ready.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You probably walk 3 miles when you golf. I mean,
We don't.
No, we ride in the car.
Because
okay.
we're always talking.
All right,
And it's
fair
hard to talk when you're
Age
walking.
has its privileges.
Yeah, that's the truth. Do you feel like, I know one of the big challenges we've tried to address every year was how do we get more intra-state participation? Do we have any idea of how that looks this for 2023?
I don't. I should pull the numbers on that, but typically we get about 50% participation from
In-state.
in-state.
That's good.
It is good. Yeah, it's kind of it's a tradition for people to come over and challenge themselves. It's also a beautiful course. It's a fast course. The weather is typically nice, and who doesn't want to come and visit Missoula?
I'm going to ask a controversial question. Does Missoula have any political... Do people not want to run the Missoula Marathon because maybe this place is a little too blue, maybe? Have you ever heard that?
I did get an email last year.
Arnie, breaking news.
From a gentleman, and this isn't even political, this is human rights, but the center, which is the Western Montana LGBTQ,
Yes.
they hosted the aid station at Franklin Park that I was talking about, and they had their pride flag out, and I did receive an email from a participant wanting to know if I knew that they were flying that flag, and just kind of, saying that they won't, if we support, I don't know. There was a lot of hate.
If we support diversity, they don't want to run.
There was a lot of hate and misinformation in there. So that was one, and I'm sure there's some people that have issues with whatever we're doing as an organization, and I encourage them to come have a conversation with me. I'm happy to sit down and talk to anybody about human rights or social justice issues.
Right, and if they don't like it here, let them go run in Boston, Chicago, New York, and see how they like that.
I mean, it's probably the same anywhere else, and
That's really a good point, Arnie.
Yeah, really. Come on. So let's talk about money for a minute.
Okay.
You have 6,000 runners. That can't be enough to support the entire organization for a whole year. So who are your benefactors? How do you raise money? Do you have sponsors? Do you need more sponsors? Give me the pitch.
All right. Well, the marathon registration does fund a lot of what we do, but it's also very expensive, as you can imagine, to put on the marathon as well. And again, we're passionate about keeping the costs low. We also have about a race a month, which does, help fund some of that. Our registration fees are nominal. Again, it's $27 a year. We're not killing it with that. But then, we do rely heavily on sponsorship. And we are so lucky to have so many community partners that believe in what we're doing. They have fun with what we're doing. We have a lot of sponsorships for the marathon are obviously the most expensive. It's the biggest value. So we have a lot of sponsors for that race. And then we have people that are more interested in doing something a little more local. and they sponsor our club races, or maybe they're sponsoring a trail session.
Right.
So those are a few of our revenue streams.
Do you have any national, like Brooks or Hoka or any of those folks participate?
No, I've reached out a few times to some national brands, and it's the thing about reaching out to those companies is you have to have a connection to get in, right? Just like anything, you have to network and get in. So I think between the board and myself, we've really decided that we do need to get a title sponsor for the marathon, and that will help set us off, in a good path. I also apply for a few grants here and there, which also is a nice revenue stream for us to help do what we do.
When you say a title sponsor, so like the New York City Marathon is presented by, it's a financial...
TCS.
Yeah, it's a financial organization, right? Mm-hmm. So would you be open to that?
Yeah.
Like a Wells Fargo even, or...
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely... as long as somebody's values align with ours.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we would be open to that. I think the exposure would be great. I mean, can you imagine the Missoula Marathon presented by your business here or your business here, Missoula Marathon? Like, however it needs to be title sponsor or presenting sponsor, we'd look into those things.
Banks are always the most, they have the most money.
Right, but also national brands. I mean,
they also spread it around too, and that's the hard thing, is to ask somebody for such a large chunk of money when they want to give to multiple organizations. So I think we have run into that issue a lot, where people are like, "We love what you're doing, but we also want to do this, and we're passionate about this," and I understand that. So we just have to find the right partner. And again, it will be a sponsorship and a partnership. It'll be a combo.
Arnie. Let's get on this immediately.
I have somebody we'll talk about when the show's over.
Uh-oh.
Breaking news.
Some more breaking news. Well, no, it really is interesting. If you think about a company that wants to really entrench and be a part of the community, what a great way to do it, right? Everyone loves a marathon. I told you when I first moved here, 2013, I spoke to Tony, may he rest in peace. I said, Tony, we need to be involved in this thing. Because I came from back east, the marathon. I grew up at the New York City Marathon.
Sure.
You know the power that it has in a community.
Right.
Right? Unlike...
It also has power for the sponsor. Remember, for years, it was like Citibank or somebody. You remember seeing the banners
Amex,
everywhere. And Amex did it for a while,
right,
I think.
But it's different than sponsoring like a sports team or sponsoring a venue, because... Yes, I'm a fan of the Knicks. You're a fan of the Knicks, but I don't play basketball like they play it. But everybody, this is a participatory sport. So people believe in this for themselves
something
personally.
You can do. You don't just watch it on TV. You can be an actual participant in it.
Right. So we'll help you.
Thank you.
We always want to help you.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's one of our jobs.
It's one of our jobs. Back to kind of the summer season, which we know is the busiest season here. There are other races around Montana, though, in the summer. Isn't there one up in Flathead or in Big Fork?
There's the Whitefish Marathon in May.
That's May, okay. Mm-hmm. How big is that?
Maybe 1,000 people across all
so you're 5 times larger.
Yeah. Excuse me.
That's okay. How about within a 200, 300-mile radius? Anything in Coeur d'Alene?
I mean... There is a Coeur d'Alene Marathon. It's over Memorial Day weekend. I don't think it's too terribly large. Bloomsday is obviously the big mamma jamma over there, and they usually get like 35,000 participants.
Wow!
And that's the first weekend of May. First Sunday in May. It's Bloomsday, and we're going to go over. We always have a booth over there and try to recruit people to come over. And
that's smart, because you got 35,000 people.
Totally, yeah. And I mean, they if you've ever watched Bloomsday, I would say, 60% of the people are walking. They're in jeans. They're pushing strollers. They're just out with their family. Like, it's completely non-competitive, and they're just out there for fun. So I think we have a long way to go where we can incorporate a little bit more of that in our race as well. Bloomsday is also a screaming deal. I think it's pretty cheap to register for that race as well.
Huh.
What's the closest race to what we have?
In the area as a marathon?
In the general area, that's similar in terms of competition, the level of people coming from 50 states, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is it in Oregon?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Other than Bloomsday, I mean, and that's only a 12K. Yeah,
Right.
You've got Portland Marathon. Seattle has a bunch of races.
Vancouver?
Boise?
Yeah, but I don't think Boise pulls
Not
as
like
many
this.
No,
many
no.
people like this.
Crazy, isn't it, that Missoula?
Well, it's also people want a race that has some altitude. I mean, it's challenging as people look at what race I want to run in, particularly when they're coming from another country or, plotting their races. Here's one, through the mountains of Montana. And they probably, the people that come from other states, probably come and do other things while they're here. They make a week of it,
Yeah.
not just for the race.
We need like a Telluride. What Telluride does, they have that Bluegrass Fest. Bluegrass and jazz. We need something like that.
Well, there
here.
probably is something that weekend. I don't know what's going to
Not
be
in
at the Kettle
Missoula.
House. There might be something in the Kettle House. that
Right, but
weekend.
I think a music festival with like something that's complimentary to people coming here for the marathon would be fun. Whatever. Either way, Trisha Drobeck is our guest. She's the executive director of Run Wild Missoula. Always a great guest. When you're not doing what you're doing, let's get back to the personal side of things. What are you doing for enjoyment here in this fine town? You're not originally from here. Where are you from?
I'm from Portland.
Portland? Mm-hmm. I think I knew that.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Arnie?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And that's a running community, right? That is.
It is, yeah. And even though I wasn't really entrenched in it when I was young, it's also a soccer community, which I was a fairly, big part of. But yeah, it was a great place to grow up. I grew up in Southwest Portland.
And where'd you go to college?
Here.
U of M. And that's where you played soccer.
Well, just intramurals and stuff.
Intramurals, got it. Yeah, because it's hard to maintain a scholarship when you're playing a sport.
Right.
Did you know that? That's very. I have friends. A gal that played soccer at NYU. She could only last 1 year. Too hard to stay in to athletics and the educate got in the way.
Sure.
Student athlete.
Sure. That's why most other countries don't have them go to college. They just go right into the career of their choice, the sports career of their choice.
And what are your favorite? So Missoula, you've been here for a while now. Favorite food, favorite restaurants? That's something Arnie and I love talking about.
Oh, man. I feel like I'm so out of the loop. I am so much dictated by my
kids.
4-year-old and my 6-year-old to tell us where we're going to go and what we're going to do.
You mean your husband doesn't dictate anything?
No.
Good. We like to hear
Smart
that.
guy.
Who has the best mac and cheese is pretty much
Really?
like the question in our household.
Costco.
The Costco hot dog is a family favorite as well.
Of
$2.50.
course.
I think it's
$1.50. Still
$1.50.
$1.50.
Is it $1.50?
Yeah.
I know. It's
Yeah.
a steal. It's literally
Maybe
a
the
steal.
cheese- $2.50 is the soda
The
in the
chicken is still $4.99 anywhere in the world. They have a Costco. They have Costco in Iceland. It's
Jeez.
$4.99 for the chicken, $1.50 for the hot dog.
You know, Arnie, if you decide to go to Costco, you could do the perimeter of Costco and get your eyes checked, your ears checked, have a meal, high sodium, and then get tires for your car. Okay, all at the same time.
If I had a car, I
If
would
you had a
already
car,
do
you
that. I've been waiting for a car. It's a thing.
Waiting
that
for an
Scott and I
electric
went
car.
through.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
Are you finding that Missoula businesses, certainly downtown businesses, are appreciative of when the marathon's in town? Because it does generate a ton of business.
Definitely.
I mean, this is one of the greatest benefits of the marathon in my mind is that it spans over 3 days, right? But all your races definitely generate things going on. But this is a bunch of folks from out of town spending money in town. I mean, what's the economic impact of you have shared that with me?
In 2018, the marathon worked with the UM Economic Impact board or committee, whatever it is, and they estimated it was about $2 million impact.
$2 million just for
on the
that 3
community.
days. It's incredible.
It is big.
How has the Yellowstone phenomenon in any way, shape, or form impacted the marathon?
Ooh, I'm not sure, other than they were filming at the GLR building when we were trying to have meetings last year right before the race, and they had all this security detail outside. And I'm like, don't you know who I am? I'm the marathon race director. Let me in. I'm just kidding. But they were like taking over the building. But I don't know economic impact-wise if people are coming here, hoping to see Kevin Costner or whatever.
Or Rip running.
Rip running.
No, but maybe you can get some product placement and give them like a Run Wild Missoula sweatshirt that one of the, hands, cattle hands.
That's a good name for a character in a show. Rip running.
Rip running.
Yeah. Trail boss, Rip running.
No, but if we talk to a lot of folks that come in here from different, like Emily Ralston was here a couple of weeks ago from Destination Missoula. She's great. Mm-hmm. And we talked about the Yellowstone phenomena. And it's incredible. It just impacts every facet of our community. And, they film during the summer months.
Right.
So housing is going to be challenged. It's always challenged when they're here.
And just when you thought you were safe of Yellowstone with Kevin Costner leaving, they're bringing in Matthew McConaughey.
Oh,
is that right, Arnie?
Yeah. I don't watch Yellowstone.
That's
It's
right.
terrible, but
What do you mean it's terrible?
I feel like everybody watches it.
You live
and
here. You
follows
don't
it.
have to watch it.
Okay, fair enough.
How do you know that? You're on the inside.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
You guys are all over it today.
Yeah, we
Anyway,
have a lot of it.
Our guest is Trisha Drobeck. She's the executive director of Run Wild Missoula, talking all things Missoula, all things running, all things marathon. Back after this for our final words. Arnie, we are back with our guest, Trisha Drobeck.
So I need the logistics and the details on all this. I know you're up on all the social media platforms, but how does someone get a hold of you? How do they sign up for the race? Is there a price increase coming up? Tell me all of the things that we need to know to participate in Run Wild Missoula and the Missoula Marathon.
Yes. RunWildMissoula.org has bunches of information on our club. You can find everything there. MissoulaMarathon.org is you'll find links to results. You'll find race information. You can register there. You can check out the expo, whatever you need to do. MissoulaMarathon.org is a good place. If you're looking for a little more fun pictures of the race, our Instagram and Facebook and TikTok are also, and Twitter. Oh my gosh, we have all of them.
Twitter,
are
Elon.
at Missoula Marathon. So you can find us there as well. And then Run Wild Missoula has Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Run Wild Missoula.
And if you're looking to register, there's a
Yeah,
point.
Get on it. March 16th, we have a price increase. So save yourself some money. Do it by March 16th. Make the commitment.
It's 4 days from now.
I want to see both of you registered by March 16th. So I'll be looking for those names.
Beer run, Arnie. Beer run.
I'm willing to pay the higher price and wait till the last minute.
Arnie,
Make sure I'm ambulatory.
I like to do the MC work at the kids race on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. over at Boone and Crockett.
Nice.
Okay, maybe you'll join me as
Yeah,
my partner
I might join you.
on the air. Christy joins me if it's
We
not
can do
you.
an Abbott and Costello.
We can do
Who's on first? Who's running on
Don't
second?
stub your toe. Do your kiddos, are they going to run this year?
Yeah, they did the kids race last
They
year.
did?
Yeah, it was great. Paxton came out. We have a great
Nice.
relationship with the Paddleheads. They're doing specials for our runners all weekend long at the field. So yeah, it'll be great. And my kids will be back doing it again.
Good. Well, we'll make sure we'll have a great music soundtrack for them as they run. They're very competitive. Anyway, good to see you, Trisha. Thanks so much for coming.
Pleasure having you on the show again.
Appreciate you both. Thank you.
See you next Sunday, Arnie.
Next Sunday, Scott. Take care.
Thank you for listening to What Do You Know?
I can't wait for the next show, Scott.
I'm excited too, Arnie. If you'd like to suggest a guest, send me an email at scottrichmond@townsquaremedia.com. We'll see you next week. And thanks for listening to Newstalk KGVO,